Okay.
I was going to say.
Hey, we're a little tardy and it's my fault and I apologize, but let's call the meeting to order. Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your interest in the work of this board and the interest in our district. So we'll begin with an opening invocation. Mr. Gilzine.
All right. At this time, I would like to introduce Senior Pastor David Nerzog of Emmaus Church in Winter Garden. Pastor David founded Emmaus Church, a non-denominational Reformed church, in 2011. He grew up in South Florida and worked in the action sports industry for many years, then relocated to the great Central Florida to attend seminary, where he graduated with his master's in biblical studies, including Greek and Hebrew languages. Before founding Emmaus Church, Pastor Davis was an ordained minister for several churches and served for 17 years on the examination committee for the PCA in Central Florida, examining candidates for the ordained ministry in Bible, theology, and sacraments. His favorite pastimes are fishing, football, traveling, and reading good Bible commentaries. He lives in Winter Garden with his wife, Katrina. They have 6 children and 12 grandchildren. Pastor, will you come up and lead us in prayer?
That makes me sound smart. I think if you live long enough, you can accomplish some things. Right, Jeff? Yeah, just retiring after 35 years. So that's amazing. I got to meet Jeff Hollins. So appreciate y'all and appreciate your service. I wanted to, my friend Rocky Haig invited me to do the invocation. He said I could say a few words first. So I hope that's okay, because there's a couple things I want to say. Yes, I'm David Netzorg from Emmaus Church, and we meet at the Garden Theater in downtown Winter Garden. It's a pretty sweet spot. There's one of my neighbors right there. Hey, Eric, how are you? We live, 300 feet away from each other. He's a great neighbor. Yeah. I grew up in South Florida, so go Dolphins. I'm a big Dolphins fan. What a game we had on Sunday. I left South Florida in 1992 to go to seminary, to Reformed Theological Seminary in Oviedo, and never left Central Florida. I mean, I'm from the Juno Beach, Jupiter area. If any of you know where that is, it's pretty special. But coming here, I loved West Orange County, and have been here ever since. And I want to thank you all for what you do. I appreciate it very much. Government is very important. It's a calling. God's word, the Bible says that you actually work for God. I don't know if you realize that or not, but that's what the word of God says. This is God's world, and it's structured according to his design. And God established government to minister to people. And he's called you to be a part of that. And it's a high calling. And so thank you for answering that call. Thank you for what you do. It's very important. A lot of people think that, you're called to be a minister, so you work for God and the rest of us don't. No, all of us do. And when we help other people and we love other people and make their lives better, enhance their lives, that's loving your neighbor as yourself, which you probably know is the greatest commandment from the Bible. I just want to read Romans chapter 13, verses 1 through 8. This is Paul writing to the church in Rome under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. So in other words, this is God's word, and this is what he says. And some of this is a little maybe difficult to understand, and you can go look at it later, but I just want to read this to you, and then I'll pray. Every person is to be in subjection to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God. And those which exist are established by God. Therefore, whoever resists authority has opposed the ordinance of God, and they who have opposed will receive condemnation upon themselves. So we're to obey the police, the firefighters, the government, all of those in authority. For rulers are not a cause of fear for good behavior, but for evil. Do you want to have no fear of authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same authority. Or it is a minister of God to do to you for good. For it is a minister of God to you for good. But if you do what is evil, be afraid, for it does not bear the sword for nothing. For it is a minister of God, an avenger who brings wrath. We're not allowed to take vengeance ourselves. The governing authorities do that on the one who practices evil. Therefore, it is necessary to be in subjection, not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake. For because of this, you also pay taxes. You know, paying taxes is in the Bible. Don't cheat on your taxes, people. God's watching. For because of this, you also pay taxes, for rulers are servants of God, devoting themselves to this very thing. Render to all what is due them. Tax to whom tax is due. Custom to whom custom. Fear to whom fear. Honor to whom honor. Owe nothing to anyone except to love one another. For he who loves his neighbor has fulfilled the law. That's a really powerful, amazing passage, and it should encourage all of us. So let's pray together. Dear Lord, we are thankful for civil servants. We're thankful for government that you established so that the world can work peacefully, and you designed that, and we thank you for that. It's a blessing to all of us, as all the people are in this room, so thank you for them. These civil servants are called by you to do your will. So please be with each person here, and Lord, give them wisdom in this meeting. Guide them by your Spirit, we pray, in your holy and precious name. Amen. Thank you so much for allowing me to bring your invocation this afternoon.
Thank you, Pastor. And now let's honor this great nation with a Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. And let's go over our safety procedures, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and welcome guests. We'd like to start tonight's meeting the way that we always do, with important safety information. In the event and unlikeliness of an evacuation, please make your way to the nearest exit, either this one here directly behind you or the one to your right for the guests sitting here. Our main exit is the front of the building where you entered this evening. There's also an exit at the rear of the building. Please follow the exit signs to the nearest exit in an orderly fashion. Our employees will be evacuating and making their way to the ends of the parking lot. Follow them to the area so we can gather an accurate attendance until first responders arrive. On the way out of the building, if it's necessary and you feel confident to do so, please grab a fire extinguisher and or pull the fire alarm stations. For your health, we also have automated external defibrillators and a first aid kit at the security desk. Thank you and enjoy your time.
Thank you very much. We'll have public comments now. We have two. First, Mr. Holland wants to speak on the budget. If you're here, sir, in a representative capacity, please tell us.
Thank you. No, I'm speaking for myself. My name is Jeff Holland. I am a Florida native, born and raised here. 2 days ago, I reached a milestone of 35 years working here for the district in environmental sciences, protecting the water resources and helping promote public health and safety. I sincerely thank the district for posting on my story on the public social media. I just find out about that, but thank you very much. Last meeting, Chair Garcia, you mentioned a proposal to switch existing employee perks and theme park passes to an equivalent stipend of around $14.25 or so. I assumed that retirees would get this same change. I was shocked on Monday when, during my retirement process, I learned that this board may be proposing to remove this part of my existing 2023 perks and benefits from me and all former retirees. Hopefully this is wrong, wrong information I've got. We all have heard the words that the CFTOD board has used to represent the previous district, but Chair Garcia, respectfully, your board has missed a key point. The previous district was committed to supporting staff and retirees, not just the union side, but equally non-union workers like myself. They saw the value in giving a little extra in retiree benefits and perks and how it retained quality workers. This hearing is to discuss next year's budget. Because this year's budget, my family and we have the privilege of receiving park passes, 5, 2 main gate passes and 3 guest passes for my kids. I believe I have standing as a retiree and asking this question, Chair Garcia. Does this board intend to continue equivalent benefits and perks, including park pass stipends, for all qualified district retirees such as myself? And the previous board district has done, or the previous district has done for 50 plus years. I look forward to seeing retirees supported in the future budgets so that I can enjoy the fruits of my labor with my grandkids. Thank you.
So first of all, thank you for your long service to the district and your very valuable service. I understand from talking to others that you've been a very important member of the staff here. And so on behalf of our board, I want to thank you for your service. Unless you've heard something I haven't heard, we haven't come to any decisions on what we're going to do, what in terms of how to deal with the fact that the employees and the retirees are no longer getting passes. The only decision that's been made, okay, by this board is that the passes will be discontinued, okay? And we don't want, because there was a bad practice and a bad policy, in our opinion, okay, of that policy, we're going to discontinue it. But we don't want that to punish any of the employees. And so our initial reaction is we came up with a stipend of $1,425, which we announced last time. And I think I clearly said that if that's not enough, okay, then we'll bump that up. I also said that if we find out that it's too much, that we're not going to bump it down, okay? So there have been no decisions made in terms of how we're going to take care of our staff and employees. And we understand that you had a perk that's been taken away, and we have to deal with that, okay? Because we want happy employees, and most importantly, we want to be fair to you all. You all didn't create this policy, okay? It was a bad policy, but you had nothing to do with that. And you are not the ones that should suffer from it, okay? So during the last couple of weeks since our last meeting, I know I've exchanged communications with our CEO. I know my fellow board members have, and we are working on a solution. And so I'm sorry if something was communicated to you that there's been a determination made, because there has not. Is that a satisfactory response to you, sir? Yeah, thank you. Okay, and thank you for your comments. Having people bring their issues to us makes us better in the work that we're doing. I don't know if my fellow board members have any other comments in response.
I appreciate that.
If not, next, Mr. Shive. Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'd like to say something with regards to this matter of the passes. Okay, I've spent several meetings. Sorry, is that on now? Yeah, with regards to the passes. I've had several meetings with different groups here in the district. And, I've been coming to Central Florida for years, probably the better part of 50 years. I've lived here for about 25 years. Okay, and the big attraction here obviously has been going to Disney. You know, we had grandparents, and that made it easy to get here initially. Now we are the grandparents, and we're bringing our grandkids. And I understand the value of those passes. It goes way beyond anything monetary. It's the ability for you to have something that your kids say, my dad or my mom gets us into Disney, you know? And I mean, it's just, they don't see the bump in salaries. They don't see all kinds of other things, but that's a really big thing. And then they remember that for life. You know, it's a big thing. And, you know, we've been sifting through the complexities of the kinds of passes that have been here. And, you know, I've heard so many different folks talk. I've gotten emails and the rest. And look, the employees are critical. You know, when you have the NFL draft, after the draft, you've got a pretty good idea of who is going to be in Super Bowl contention. What does that tell you? It tells you it's not the coaches, it's not the front office, it's not the owners, it's the players. Okay, and we have been so fortunate here to have such an elite group, and it's viewed as elite throughout this area and even beyond, because the iconic structures, the things that are accomplished, all you have to do is drive from outside the district onto our roads, and you see immediately, boy, they're doing something very different here and an awful lot better. And there's a great pride that people take. And, you know, so as we've looked at things, and we're, you know, Mr. Gilzine and I and several others have been having multiple meetings trying to come up with a good solution. You know, it's the kind of thing where we're all dealing with a situation that we wish weren't the case, and we don't, in terms of certainly not wanting the employees to suffer, the people, because this is just a big family of people who together accomplish the most amazing things. And so give us a little time, okay? We're working through it. We're trying to come up with something that's going to be a really good plan.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Mr. Shivey.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Shirey. I'm the president of the Reedy Creek Professional Firefighters. I'm not here to speak about passes, but I am here to speak about an issue that is very, very near and dear to my heart. My father was diagnosed and passed away from lung cancer when I was 23 years old. A few years later, my mom was diagnosed with a very rare, aggressive form of stage 4 breast cancer. She battled through that. She has beat it. She's doing well. Very grateful for that. So when I recently received words that one of my firefighters was diagnosed with colon cancer, it obviously hit me very hard. As this board is very aware of, our Governor DeSantis, signed the Firefighter Cancer Presumption Bill into law in 2019, ensuring that the medical treatment and the compensation for firefighters would be guaranteed as they go through that battle. With this, the governor solidified his position in my mind and in the minds of my brother and sister firefighters as the most pro-first responder governor that we've ever had in the state of Florida. As I went through this process with my guy that had colon cancer, all of the requirements of the bill were being met, but we had a little bit of a discussion on whether the weekly pay was accurate or not. And, under the previous administrator and the previous board, we would have been tied up in litigation for years over this issue. I'm here to show Mr. Gilzine, this board, my heartfelt appreciation, because when we brought this to you guys, you immediately took action. You set forth to make this right. But you didn't just stop with making it right for my firefighter. You went a step above and you extended those same cancer benefits to every employee of the district. I can only speak officially on behalf of my 200 members, but I would say it's pretty safe to say that every member of the district greatly appreciates what you guys did by enacting this policy. And I just wanted to tell you thank you. We appreciate you guys very much. It means more than you can even know. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, John. Next, go to the consent agenda. Is there a motion that we approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, yeah.
Charbel, how are you?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
It's
Just
good to
chiming in.
hear you.
Absolutely.
Okay, let the record reflect that the motion passes unanimously. And let's move on to our management report.
Okay. Since our last board meeting, the district has a few significant developments. First, the arrival of Hurricane Idalia. I've witnessed the excellence and professionalism of our entire team during the hurricane response. Our Director of Security and Emergency Management, Tanya Naylor, led the preparation efforts excellently. Her professionalism set the tone for the entire storm. Our whole team is grateful for your work, Tanya. I don't think you slept in 3 days, but she never wavered from her mission. Please join me in thanking her and thank you for your leadership. Buildings and structures, securing them for impact. As mentioned, Tanya and the rest of the executive team attended security emergency management briefings with the National Weather Service, county officials, and other local partners over multiple days to bolster the coordination before, during, and after the storm. Our ride-out crew included our director, our acting chief, the fire department employees, building and safety service call technicians, and our third shift parking supervisors remained on hand to protect others who were staying in the district throughout the storm. I even spent the evening in our EOC with our ride-out crew, and that's definitely eye-opening. So I welcome my fellow board members to come and join me. I know, Ron, you live right up the street, so you got to definitely... While I've already called 53 of the emergency service personnel who were part of the ride-out teams, I want to thank them again personally and publicly. Thank you for standing in the gap to protect others. We appreciate you every day, but especially during times of disasters. I also want to acknowledge the district's own John Harvey, a firefighter paramedic who served with us since 2012. In addition to his work here, John is a member of the Florida Task Force 4, an elite 120-person team from multiple agencies across Central Florida, which activates when disaster strikes. When Hurricane Idalia struck the Big Bend earlier this month, John was mobilized with the task force and deployed to assist those in need. This isn't his first deployment. John has assisted with recovery efforts for Hurricane Michael, Hurricane Ian, and even during the Surfside building collapse in 2021. He represents the very best of the district. During each of these deployments, I want to thank him for his commitment to public service. Please join me in a round of applause for John and his dedication. But the real work begins after the storm. The damage assessment. Fortunately, there was no significant damage to the district, and in wake of Hurricane Idalia, even better, after many discussions with employees and their families, we didn't have anyone who was significantly impacted in terms of property damage or physical harm. Normal district operations resumed at 10 a.m. on day of landfall. And once again, thank you to each of our teams for your dedication. The second item I want to address is related to the annual pass programs. Since the announcement, I have made a concerted effort to listen to staff and taken their concerns to heart. I've spoken to approximately over 150 individuals since our last board meeting. As I mentioned earlier, I called 53 members of the fire department. I also attended the building and safety department's weekly meeting at the request of their director, Mike Rickabaugh. Mike brought me the concerns of his teams related to the changes and invited me to drop in and listen. We had a thoughtful discussion for over an hour about the passes, but more importantly, employee benefits as a whole. Additionally, I had dinner with members of the Fire Station 2 And then earlier this week, I held my third coffee and conversation event, this time located with our friends in the IT department. And lastly, I attended the facility staff meeting and listened to our team members' concerns. Our facility director shared how flexible the employee passes and benefits were used to give our own Neo City interns who were here this summer the opportunity to access the parks. I also visited with the fire department employees on September 11th with our hotel partner, the Four Seasons, participated in the Adopt a Station event, which brought lunch to all personnel at the station. Took some time to do a ride along with our EMS team where I witnessed the professionalism firsthand. I also know many board members met with staff before today's meeting and heard the countless importance of employee benefits, and as we just witnessed earlier, even among our retirees as well. But during each of these opportunities, our team members were respectful and passionate and heartfelt. Your message is loud and clear. These benefits are not only personal to you, but to your family. And I want to say thank you for sharing your honest thoughts and providing creative solutions. To the end, we're making significant progress in developing reasonable solutions. As previously announced, we intend to substitute the passes with a stipend to allow employees flexibilities. However, we've received valuable feedback on the stipend amount, and we're working with the Board of Supervisors to increase the initial proposed amount and making it more equitable. We expect to unveil these numbers during the September 27 board meeting. Through our employee listening sessions, I've learned the actual value of the annual pass mitigate program as they were unassigned to guest passes. This feature allows with the standard annual passes. We are exploring the possibility of allowing our teams to purchase passes directly from the Walt Disney operating participant program to maintain disability. The district is currently awaiting answers from some of these questions surrounding the feasibility. I hope to share this additional information as soon as we get it. Once again, our employees are not obligated to purchase passes, but this new program will allow them to choose the best for their current circumstances. I want to express my gratitude for the feedback that we've received thus far and to assure you that I am dedicated to developing a satisfactory alternative. Your input is invaluable as we navigate this important issue together. I look forward to continuing the discussion with our team in the future. The third development, which is a really good one, is that I'm announcing the promotion of Ms. Susan Hickerbotham. She was the director of our finance department for the district, but effective yesterday, she has been named the new Chief Financial Officer. So this is a well-earned promotion, and we're very grateful as a team to have her. Susan has a long history with the district. Her career has progressed beautifully. Her advancement is a testimony to her abilities. She started her career as a meter reader in the utilities division in 1989. And while she went to a school that I would prefer not to name, but I will because it's in my script, is that after graduating with her bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of Central Florida, she became a governmental accountant in December of 1995. Now, what's not in my script is that she worked her way through school and used the money from this job to pay for school. And that just gives you a sense of how hardworking, and when Miss Susan is dedicated to a vision or a goal, she definitely works to achieve it, and she always does, and I'm super proud of her. She was eventually named the Director of Finance in April of 2022. Not only is she a certified public accountant, but she's also a certified government financial officer, as recognized by the state of Florida. Anyone who has had the privilege of working with Susan knows she is the best of the best. Her attention to detail and commitment to service will undoubtedly keep our district in a strong financial position and help us continue to be good stewards of the district's assets. Again, congratulations, Susan. Lastly, I'd like to take a moment to announce a new benefit, which you already heard in our public comments, that is being offered to all employees related to cancer diagnosis. Even hearing the word cancer can be very upsetting and can cause a lot of fear. Work is the last thing an employee should have to worry about when fighting something as devastating as cancer. In light of that, I am pleased to announce a new policy that will give all of our employees some peace of mind. All active full-time employees, including the firefighters, will be eligible to receive their full pay through both short-term and long-term disability payments for the period of time taken off during cancer and recovery treatments following an approved diagnosis. Human Resources can provide more information to our non-union employees. For our employees covered by the collective bargain agreement, contract language for occupational and non-occupational medical leave time will apply. I will refer you to your union representative for additional information. At this time, I would like to move on to our second agenda item, which is the tentative millage and budget presentation. With that, the second order of business is the FY24 tentative millage and budget presentation. Susan has worked tirelessly to ensure that our budget figures are up to date. She has contacted each of our department heads to make the appropriate adjustments in 2024 fiscal year. As deliberation continues, Susan, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you for everyone coming out at this evening meeting. As Mr. Colzine said, I'll be covering the tentative millage rate and budget for the general fund and the debt service fund. Some of this information is going to be repetitive because we've already seen this 2 times already. We are required by the state of Florida to have 2 public hearings, so you'll see again the final budget on September 27th. I like to start with the assessed values because that is the basis for our ad valorem tax revenue. For fiscal year 24, our assessed values are $15.3 billion. That is an increase of $1.9 billion over a prior year of $13.4. Of that $15.3 billion, $265 million is attributable to new construction. Our debt millage rate is going from prior year with the adjustment for the increase in assessed values. The rollback rate for fiscal year 24 is calculated at 8.261 mils. That is 8.82% over our tentative millage rate of 8.99 mils. Oh, thing not working. He told me it worked. Okay, so this slide is our revenue slide. This has not changed since our proposed budget that you saw in August. We have a total of $194.5 million in revenue, with the majority of that being $188.4 million collected from ad valorem taxes. The $5 million in permits and fees, if you remember, we told you we were doing a fee study for our building and safety department. We want to collect revenue to cover our department, and we have not had a fee change since July of 2016. Moving to our expenditures, we have a slight decrease from the budget that you saw in August. Our total expenditures were $191.7. For our tentative budget, we have $191.6. And I'll just go down and briefly describe some of the items. For our labor budget, we have a total number of 410 employees. That includes 14 new employees. We have included contractual increases for our bargaining unit, as well as annual merits for our non-bargaining unit. The district does participate in the Florida retirement system, and as such, we contribute for everyone's salary. For our regular class employees, the increase is going up. The contribution is going up 1.6% for a total of 13.57%. And for our special risk employees, it's going up 4.8% for a total of 32.67%. Our other expense, $63.9 million. This includes all of our planned work projects or our building planned work, Our roadway plan work, landscaping, this is where it includes our guardrail maintenance that we discussed, our roadway paving, also our drainage maintenance. And this line does include our legal fees. Our capital item, 6.1 million. This is our pay-as-you-go asset purchases. This does include a new ambulance replacement, as well as equipment replacement at the lab and the fire department, IT upgrades, and a rollover of the environmental sciences building for 2.9 million. I would also like to report that procurement and the fire department are currently working on a contract to order 2 engines. There is a long lead time of 36 months, so there is no money included in the fiscal year 24 budget. We will have a deposit for half showing in our fiscal year 25 budget, but we need to get these ordered so that they can be built. Fund balance. The board adopted a new fund balance for the district at the prior board meeting. And you can see in fiscal year 23, our total fund balance, we had 5 million set aside for property appraiser, 20 million as available fund balance. For fiscal year 24, applying our new policy, we have 2 million set aside for emergency repairs. We have 6 million set aside for property appraiser settlements. Our intention with the property appraiser is to set aside additional money each year so that when these cases do settle, we will be able to have money set aside for that. And then 28.7 million available fund balance, which was well above our minimum of 2 months worth of expenditures. So in conclusion, today we will ask you during our public hearing to vote on the tentative millage rate and the tentative budget as presented. Once this meeting is done tomorrow, we will work on our final budget to be presented in 2 weeks. In between that time, the district will be doing advertising. We are required to advertise a notice of property tax increase, and that is because our millage rate is above the rollback rate. We will also be advertising a budget summary with statement of tax increase, and that is because our expenditures for 24 are higher than our expenditures for 23. These advertisements, again, are required by the state of Florida. They will be advertised 5 days before our final meeting, and we will be advertising those in the Orlando Sentinel. And with that, that is my presentation of the tentative budget and millage.
All right.
All right. There's no new business on the agenda, so we'll go right into the public hearings.
Yeah, let me, before you get to that, does your
I'm
manager-
concluded.
okay.
Yes, sir.
I do have a couple of comments. I didn't know if my fellow board members had any comments or questions relative to the management report. Okay, I do. First of all, Mr. Holland, having heard Mr. Gilzine's presentation about the sensitivity that we have to our employees, are you satisfied that we're evaluating all this and there's been no decisions made and we're going to do what we think is fair? Okay. Well, and thank you for your comments. And then I've got to make some comments relative to Susan. You know, I live in the financial world and I deal with CFOs and I deal with financial people. And I've had the opportunity to work with Susan on a number of matters. And I've been just incredibly impressed with her, not just her talent, but her attitude and her work ethic, her just attitude, eagerness to please. And then, you know, I think I referred to her last time as a spreadsheet whiz. And so just been totally impressed with her. And if you've worked with Susan, you know she's a very endearing person. So you naturally learn to love her very quickly. And so as a board, our job is not just to promote someone because they are endearing and because you love them, but you have to make sure that they're qualified. And you may recall that early on, shortly after this board was appointed, we brought in a national financial advisor, Prague, to come in and and help us because we had a vacancy at the CFO position. And you may recall that one of the things that we asked Prague was to go through and give us an analysis and recommendations on filling the CFO position. And so to make sure that we had that the board made sure that we had an objective analysis of whether Susan was the best candidate, okay, we met with our financial advisor and had them go through an analysis of Susan. And they've known Susan for years. They have worked with Susan. So all the subjective endearment that she brings was put aside, and we got a completely objective analysis from a national financial advisor. And the report we got is you can't do any better than Susan. And so, Susan, you this wasn't given to you. This is something that you earned and you deserved. And I think it's wonderful that you're the most qualified for this position. And I also think it's great that we have a woman in a senior executive position. And Susan, it's a big deal. I mean, you are the CFO of a significant government agency in the state of Florida. And I want to, on behalf of our board, I want to congratulate you and thank you for your good work. And I do have some new business before we get to the resolutions. I'd like to briefly comment on Disney's and their lawyers' litigation tactics in the federal lawsuit that they filed against this board. Last week, the Walt Disney Corporation eliminated components of its own litigation against the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District in federal court. Those who have not been following this matter could be forgiven for not immediately grasping the import of Disney's action. But that action, in the legal world, constitutes, if not an earthquake, at least a major tremor. This was indeed an extraordinary concession on the part of Disney. Disney backtracked, effectively conceding that it never should have filed the 4 federal causes of action against this board in federal court. To be clear, and I want to be clear on this because I've spoken to this before, the dispute between Disney and the board only involves contracts. Contracts that the corporation Disney entered into with our predecessor, the Reedy Creek Improvement District. As such, it has nothing to do with the dispute between Disney and Governor DeSantis over legislation. Disney knew full well that these are 2 independent matters, but having suddenly found itself on its heels this past spring, it desperately desired a national forum to lash out. In turn, it dragged this board into federal court in Tallahassee. That decision was not only an insult to the people of Florida, but also to the taxpayers of this district who are incurring the legal costs of that unnecessary battle. In retrospect, Disney's retraction has proven a mockery of the legal system. It's a noteworthy event when lawyers voluntarily dismiss causes of action against defendants, which is what Disney did with respect to this board last week. In doing so, Disney has all but admitted it knew that the federal charges against this board were bogus, and moreover, that the filing of them constituted a publicity stunt, not to mention a repugnant one that took place at the expense of both the integrity of the legal system and of the economic interest of the taxpayers in this district. This board is also fully confident when all is said and done, the 11th hour agreements will fall by the same wayside as their dismissed federal complaints. It's worth quickly reminding the public how we arrived at this point. Disney exploited the generosity of the people of Florida over the years through the 1967 Reedy Creek Improvement Act. What worked in the early years to spark economic development in Central Florida later proved to be an urban planning quagmire with horrific governance practices. A light was finally shined on the problem, and Disney got caught. Disney used the 1967 Act to establish footing in Central Florida to minimize, if not eliminate, all hurdles in its campaign to mold the district to serve the best interests of Disney at the expense of the public good. All along the way, it seized control of the local government through a variety of unsavory means. Politely, and I say politely, the Reedy Creek Improvement District could have been described as a, quote, public-private partnership, close quote. In reality, in terms of scope and scale, it became one of the greatest examples of corporate cronyism in modern American history. After the establishment of the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District in April, this board has acted swiftly and effectively to make sure that the operations of the district are promoting the public good. One of our focuses has been to institute transparency and appropriate governance practices, which were sorely lacking in the governance of this district by the old Reedy Creek Board for more than half a century. We as a board are tremendously proud of what we have accomplished in a short period of time, and we are eager to continue our work on behalf of residents, employees, tourists, and all of our constituents to function as an independent government. I didn't think that this meeting should go without my making sure, because I understand that some people don't appreciate the fact that the Disney did sue us in Tallahassee, did sue us in federal court, did have some ugly allegations against this board, and lo and behold, last week they just dismissed all those complaints. It gives you a perspective on the litigation tactics that they have used. So, with nothing further on that point, unless my fellow board members have any comments, we'll move to the next agenda item. On public hearings, Mr. Langley, let's first go to Resolution 648.
Resolution 648, a resolution of the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District for the adoption of the tentative millage rate for the fiscal year 2024. The Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, through the Board of Supervisors, through the adoption of this resolution, hereby intends to levy an operating millage rate of $8.9900 per $1,000 of assessed value for fiscal year 2024, which is 8.82% more than the rollback rate of 8.2610, computed pursuant to Florida Statutes 200.065. The Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, through its Board of Supervisors, also hereby intends, through the adoption of this resolution, to levy a debt service millage rate of $3.9600 per $1,000 of assessed value for fiscal year 2024, thereby levying a total millage rate of $12.9500 per $1,000 of assessed value for the fiscal year 2024. Thank you. And this is a public hearing. We would, of course, ask if any members of the public want to speak on this particular item. They can at this time.
Is there anyone that wants to speak to this? If not, is it appropriate at this point, Mr. Langley, for me to ask for a motion?
Unless there's any discussion or questions amongst the board members, that's
Okay.
appropriate.
All right, we'll do discussions first. Are there any discussions, questions by the board, fellow board members?
Just one question. Okay, so we still have a small unresolved, not so small, but an unresolved issue with regards to how we're handling the pass holders that could affect, to some degree, millage rate. Is that correct? Or is that, do we leave that just, that's the final budget will include?
Ron, you're asking the wrong guy.
Okay.
We got,
Chairman.
we got Susan here for that. Susan, could
Okay.
you address that, please?
Yes, the
Mike.
millage rate of 8.9.
Mike, for the record.
Okay, sure.
Sorry about that. Yes, the operating millage rate of 8.99 should take into account proposals that Glenn and I have been looking at. So we want to make sure that it will be within that millage rate.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Right, but the answer is the budget and the millage rate will not be finalized until the final vote on September 27th.
That is correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Great, thank you for confirming that.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, is there a motion that we, oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm with West 2 News. Just want to ask, what is there
Could you
to
just state your name for the record?
Luana Munoz with West
Okay.
2. You said that there were some things to consider for the employees with the pass holding.
Oh, well, that's really what we were discussing earlier.
Right, but-
Just because that hasn't been finalized, that's all.
What would you consider? Like, what else is there to consider?
Well,
Glenn followed up with her.
Well, so this particular forum is intended to address the members of the, as it relates to the motion. What we can do is, because you're asking more of a press question, I will be able to address all press concerns immediately after the meeting.
But I'm asking the board directly.
Point of order. Usually, it's just the opportunity to hear the comments on the millage rate and the budget is for versus a dialogue, just for decorum purposes.
Yeah, the public comment period is so that we can get the opinion of the public on the agenda.
I'm the public.
But you're not giving us your opinion, you're asking us a question. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I think it's out.
Yeah, so let me just, I've said this before, and I
Yeah.
think you may have been one of the reporters that reported it. I said, public comment is a time for us to be like Mickey Mouse, all ears. It's not a time for us to respond to questions. And that is the rules, okay? And so, we're here to accept comments, and we're here to listen and take things into consideration. But public comments is not a time for the board to be responding to any questions. If it were, we could be here till midnight. So that's just not our policy. I'm sorry. But
But-
Mr. Gilzine said.
Yeah,
he's-
I'll answer
yeah,
the question during
yeah.
press right
Yeah.
after.
He'll be available after for response.
I mean,
Mr.
you have
Chairman-
the opportunity now. to
Mr.
just-
Chairman, I move to approve resolution number 648.
Ma'am,
No, that's okay.
I think I made it clear
Yeah.
what our rules are. Okay?
Yes, sir. God bless
Have I
you.
been clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so is there a motion?
Yes. So
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any
I'll
dis-
second it.
Okay, Charbel, we'll put you in for a second there. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
You're in favor, right, Charbel?
Yes, sir. I am.
Okay. Let the record reflect that the motion passes unanimously. And let's move to resolution 649.
Resolution number 649, a resolution of the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District for the adoption of the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2024. The Central Florida Tourism Oversight District sets forth the appropriations and revenue estimate for the tentative budget of fiscal year 2024 in the amount of $228,329,542, and that the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District hereby, through the adoption of this resolution by the Board of Supervisors, adopts a tentative budget for the fiscal year 2024. Thank you.
And at this point, do we ask for any public comments as well? Mr.
Yes,
Lang?
this is also a public hearing. If there are any comments by members of the public, you're welcome to make them at this time. Come to the podium.
Any public comments? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move approval of resolution number 649.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Let the record reflect the motion passes unanimously. And next, we'll move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business or other business that needs to be discussed today?
Mr. Chair, not to belabor the meeting, but I did just want to make a few comments, closing comments. First, want to give a sincere thank you to our administrator, Mr. Gilzine, our men and women of the district, including our first responders of the fire department, for your preparation and your readiness for the hurricane. Thank God it did not have a significant impact on us, but I appreciate all of the effort that you do to secure the district and secure our constituents and our stakeholders, and greatly appreciate that. I want to congratulate Susan and thank her for an excellent budget preparation. Looking forward to finalizing it with you. I want to thank Mike with Environmental Services for hosting me today with his employees. We had a very robust discussion on the PASSES program, and it is 100% clear to us that we are going to get a good resolution for our employees and for our retirees. And we've all been working on that. As you all know, we can't talk to each other individually outside of this meeting, but I know that we've all been working on it. Chairman Garcia and the rest of the board, and I know that the other board members also met with other employees. I also had the opportunity to meet for a second time with the men and women of Fire Station number 3. Didn't get quite as much time with them as Environmental Services, but this is an issue that we are going to resolve, and we're going to get a positive resolution to. And I look forward to the next meeting and moving forward together onwards and upwards. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, please.
Mr. Supervisor Perry made some comments of which I would echo earlier on, and similarly, I had the opportunity to meet with staff, and I really appreciate your candidness. And I know this is a very unique, I mean, to say the least, this is an incredibly unique situation. I think from on this side of the table and on that side of the table, and I think I can tell you confidently that everyone is very focused on maintaining the high caliber of this entire district, but also celebrating the amazing work that you guys do. Mr. Perry mentioned elite, and I think that's a perfect word. I think Susan, after a independent review, elevating to CFO just as a testament to reaffirm to the caliber of people and the staff and the level of expertise that truly exists as inside this district as staff. It's very evident, but it's not lost on me on how challenging and unique this time is. And so with that, I think that we were talking about unknowns, and that can make people uncomfortable. But I do want to, again, share my commitment to ensuring that we find a resolution to this. Change is hard, and we have to fall within some unique lines where we reestablish a very, very, very unique situation. And I appreciate Chairman Garcia and Mr. Gilzine for the level of work that you guys have put into this, again, to try to, for lack of a better term, unravel this while amidst a litigation. So I just want to, again, share the conversations we've had this afternoon. They mean a lot. I know I've seen the passion that each of you guys put into your work, and it is not something we seek to maintain and lift up those kind of benefits as best as possible and be very transparent within the means that we're able to. So I appreciate everything, and again, I appreciate the candor today. It was very, very. That is how progress is made. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. Any further comments from my fellow board members?
Yeah, I'd like to just add one thing. In addition to everything they've said, in this work up to the finalization of the budget, the amount of extra hours that people in the district are working, pretty extraordinary. And I know I've spoken to a few well after hours and have gotten calls from Mr. Gilzine pretty late. And I've had to say, you have to go to sleep before you can get up tomorrow morning, And so I just want to say we are so fortunate to have such a level of commitment amongst the employees. I also want to recommend make sure you take good care of your families. But thank you.
Any further comments from my fellow board members?
Well, Mr. Chair, I might as well make it a clean sweep from the voice in the sky. But thank you, everyone, for the patience with my technological distance today. But just 3 quick things. One, echo the comments. We've got a tremendous team at the district from Mr. Gilzine on down. I appreciate all their help. 2, big congratulations to Susan on a well-deserved promotion. And 3, I'd like to just note my appreciation for the pastor's invocation and also add Go Dolphins. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, fellow board members, for those comments. Those are right on the mark. Is there any new business, other business that we need to discuss? If not, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you all for joining us today.